Hey guys, Arden here with Yellow House Aerial, and we're still going with the AMA. So, Dragon Slayer 90210 asks, do you ever think Amazon will ever actually use drones to deliver packages, or is that just some science fiction? So, there are a lot of things going on with drone delivery, really. A lot of things you have to consider. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to a concept of what's called a compliant aircraft. If you get on an aircraft and fly from one airport to another with a commercial airline, let's say Boeing, for instance, down in Seattle, Washington, that manufactures a 737, holds, I don't know, 100 and some people. They say if you maintain this aircraft in this specific way, it will not fall out of the sky within a certain percentage, which is safe enough for, women and children and babies to get on it and get to their destination safely. DJI, as one of the biggest manufacturers, and a lot of other manufacturers of drones, UAVs, don't have any sort of compliant guarantee on their aircraft. So they can say, here's the aircraft and here's how you can fly it, but we're not sure. We haven't actually tested that aircraft to see if it'll fall out of the sky, and we don't know. So you can look at it and see if it's good, but we haven't actually tested the motors, and we don't actually super inspect the arm to make sure that it won't fall off. Those are things that big aircraft manufacturers do. Even like helicopter manufacturers like Bell, they all do that so that you can actually carry people on in manned aviation and have it be safe. So that's a big problem, is when there's no compliant aircraft, or there are very few compliant aircraft. What that means is if you send a drone up over a community, how do you know that that drone won't fall out of the sky when it's carrying something? And if we are going to start doing drone delivery, you're going to start seeing smaller items. Like if you order a cable or perfume or I don't know, some headphones, those things can get delivered easily via drone. But if you order like a TV or something larger, it's going to take a truck to make that happen. So if you put a drone up over like a community or a highway, how do you know that drone won't fall out of the sky? That's one of the biggest questions when it comes to Transport Canada or FAA worrying about the safety of drones. Can it fly over a city and not fall on that city? That's the biggest problem. The next biggest thing is, will it take off on its own and fly into the path of a larger jetliner? So that's a big problem. And compliant aircraft are supposed to not do that. Funny enough, the RCMP, law enforcement here in Canada, had a compliant drone system by, I think, a Canadian manufacturer, and that drone just took off. It just started flying and never came back. They didn't see it again. They put a reward and said, if you find our drone, let us know. And it was a compliant aircraft, so a lot of people had a chuckle that even the expensive compliant ones can still take off and decide to do their own thing. But if we're going to look at drone delivery for something like Amazon, you need to also be sure that there's no way that that drone can just say, oh, I'm just going to fly up. I'm just going to keep going up. And then it ends up in the path of a jetliner, and that's super dangerous. So there are a lot of things to consider. Also, if you have an Amazon delivery, say you order something and it's coming to your house, how do you know that your neighbor up the street won't be like, oh, drone's spying on me or something, and then throw a toilet paper roll at it or something, right? Whip out a shotgun, who knows, depending where you live. But you could have people that don't like it, that think they're a nuisance and stuff. So drones might have to have cameras on them to protect themselves initially from be it vandals or just people that don't like it, somebody that just decides to steal whatever you ordered. They know if there's something on the drone that it's valuable. So there's a lot of things to really consider. And I think if and when drone delivery is going to be a thing, it's going to come in certain countries. Maybe there are countries, don't quote me on this, Venezuela maybe, that has really good testing. There are countries out there that have really great UAV programs and really great laws to go down there and test and start developing drones that can also fly on their own. They can fly without a pilot. They can fly beyond where the pilot or the owner or whoever is flying it can actually see it. And that's one of the biggest things. In Canada, I can't fly my drone where I can't see the drone, because I have to see a Cessna or a helicopter or a jetliner coming over the horizon and say, oh, there it is, and I have to be able to avoid it. If it's behind a building or on the other side of a mountain or down in a valley, I can't see the drone, then that's a safety issue. So flying, it's called beyond visual line of sight, or BVLOS. That's another big concern. And so if we're going to see Amazon drone delivery, it's still a couple years out. It'll be in specific, maybe metropolitan areas. You have to have high demand for it. You have to have not a lot of really tall buildings, because that makes it complicated. And then maybe also minimizing risk. So you might not want to fly over big highways, for example. but it might be worth it to fly in like a semi-dense housing situation where there's a lot of apartment buildings. So you might have a lot of people that are making orders, but you also have to have your delivery center where all the product is located close enough that the drone can get there. And when we're talking 20 minutes of flying capability, not including a payload on a standard drone, then that drone needs to get where it's going and then come back in under 20 minutes. What if it's carrying a small TV or a Game Boy or something, right? Like that gets, a Game Boy still a thing. That gets more complicated. So wherever the drone takes off, it has to be close to where you order as well. And that's a problem that Amazon already deals with, having their warehouses in big cities where there are a lot of orders. Anyway, there are a bunch of things to consider when it comes to drone delivery of packages. I think it'll happen. I think we're still a couple of years out. I don't know if it'll happen in Canada or the US first. It depends how the US is doing with their laws. I'm not too up to date on if they have anything coming out after the most recent Part 107. Canada, however, has a lot of changes coming in the next 6 months, probably. Anyway, hopefully that helps. This has been a little long-winded. Thanks for sticking with me, and let me know what other questions you have based on this. Happy to chat about it.